The ride to my aunt's house was particularly gloomy. The weather was turning bad with increasing clouds and drizzle as we approached the coast. Worse yet was my mother's periodic silence coupled with an occasional scolding about having discovered that I recently wet the bed again. "I just can't understand why you can't control yourself. You're 16 years old and in perfect health, for God's sake," she moaned in an agonized tone. "It only happens when I'm anxious, Mom. I've told you that before. I have another marathon coming up in a few weeks and a college scholarship could be riding on this race. Since Dad died, I know money is tight and a scholarship would really help take some of the stress off you. Maybe then you wouldn't have to work so much," I quickly shot back. "Dear, I'm sorry. You're so considerate." "I know you're right," Mom said calmly as she reached over and stroked my long hair, "but it still bothers me you still being a bedwetter at your age. Worst of all, I'll have to warn your Aunt Brenda. I wish I hadn't planned for you to stay at her house while I go on this trip. I can just hear her now. She won't be happy if you wet her expensive sheets." "I know, I'm a little worried myself," I said looking down. "Oh, great. You wet the bed when you get anxious. You're getting anxious thinking about staying at Aunt Brenda's. Now, there's a train wreck waiting to happen," Mom bemoaned. Our car pulled into Aunt Brenda's long driveway. We pulled up next to her garage and parked. As we stepped out of the car, Aunt Brenda approached. "Oh, wonderful, you're right on time. And lucky too, the storm hasn't hit yet." Aunt Brenda cooed in greeting us. My, the only thing growing on this boy seems to be his hair," she said as she touched my hair and eyed my small body. Now, Mom shot back. "You know his long ponytail has become his trademark when he races. And we definitely want him noticed. The colleges are scouting him. He is very fast and ranked very high these days," Mom said proudly. "I know, I guess I just prefer the muscular boys built for football." Aunt Brenda laughed in her usual sexual animated way. "Okay, let's get indoors before the rain starts or the humidity frizzes Mark's hair." Aunt Brenda laughed in a condescending tone as she grabbed my mom's arm. I rolled my eyes at Mom and followed the two sisters while pulling the luggage behind me. "Mark, you'll be sleeping in Julie's room. She wants to sleep upstairs in the loft while you're here," Aunt Brenda said while pointing down the hallway. "Why does she want to do that?" asked Mom. "Oh, I'm sure it has something to do with the fact that the nice computer and a phone is up there. She is always complaining about the computer in her room not having enough memory. That girl is always on the computer or the phone. She does do a lot of schoolwork up there too though. Her grades at community college are great so far, so I shouldn't complain," Aunt Brenda moaned. I walked into Julie's room. It was a little weird being in Julie's room. I had always stayed in the loft before. Julie's was obviously a girl's room, with everything seemingly trimmed in ruffles and lace. As I approached the closet, a voice startled me. "You better not be planning on touching my things," Mark, Julie said sternly as she entered the room. I wasn't. "I was just going to hang some of my things in your closet," I answered. "Look," Julie said as she opened the closet. "This space is yours. That's it. And I repeat, don't touch my things," she said before turning and entering her bathroom and motioning for me to follow. I scanned the counter. Curlers, curling iron, makeup, all scattered about. "I'll tidy up in her later. For now, just put your things over there," she said, pointing to a small empty spot on the counter. Julie then grinned. "I remember a little 10-year-old boy that got his hair put in pigtails in here," Julie said, laughing. I blushed. Aw, look, I embarrassed you. Julie laughed. Gee, your hair was barely long enough back then, but it sure is long now. Julie laughed louder as she began to leave, but paused and added, and don't even think about using my curlers without asking first. Julie hadn't changed much. She was still a devious princess. She was definitely cut from the same mold as her mom. Always condescending and sarcastic toward men. I hadn't thought about her putting my hair in pigtails for a long time. It was just one of those things that happened when Julie was babysitting me. She just kind of did it as I was sitting in her bathroom talking to her. I remember her giggling a lot as she parted my hair and tied the ribbons in. I decided to join the others and started walking down the hallway to the kitchen. Just before I got to the doorway, I heard my mom telling Aunt Brenda about my recent bedwetting episode. What? He's 16 years old, for crying out loud. Geez, he must get that from your old hubby's side. Out of all 4 girls growing up, none of us were bedwetters. Too bad he's not a little girl. Aunt Brenda exclaimed in disgust. Oh, but he'd make a darling little girl with that hair of his. Julie added. Now come on, stop with the wisecracks, he's just got a little problem. He needs a little help getting through it, that's all. Now, I want both of your full cooperation, Mom responded. Aunt Brenda muttered in agreement. He'd better not wet my bed, that's all I'm gonna say. Julie announced before leaving the room. I quietly returned to Julie's room. This could be bad, I thought nervously. After dinner, I went upstairs to check out the loft. It was nicer than before when I used to sleep up there. It had been converted from a large open space to a bedroom with a separate bath and closet. New wallpaper and carpet had also been installed. A nice-sized computer desk was now positioned in the corner, and the computer even had a video web camera attached to it. The new bed was much bigger and was located directly across from the computer instead of in the corner where the old bunk beds used to be. I thought to myself it was too bad I wasn't sleeping up there. I could at least connect with my friends on the computer. It would be a long 3-day weekend with Mom gone. Hearing Julie coming from the bathroom, I quickly retreated and crept down the staircase. I decided it would be safer to just hang out in her room. Maybe if I stayed clear of Julie, it would be better, I thought. She seemed bossier than before. Returning to Julie's room, I began to poke around a little bit. She sure did have a lot of outfits. She was definitely high maintenance. Several prom dresses and even a few dresses that looked like special dance outfits with large petticoats. She even had her old cheerleader outfit still hanging in the closet. Hearing footsteps, I retreated from the closet and leaped onto the bed. My mom entered the room. Mark, I'll probably be gone before you wake up. Aunt Brenda says we should get an early start to the airport due to the storm. It's a long drive. Try and get along with Julie while I'm gone. I know she can be rather bratty, but just give her some distance. Aunt Brenda says she spends a lot of time up in the loft anyway, so maybe things will work out okay. Mom remarked. I plan on giving her plenty of distance. She's done nothing but tease me since I got here. I answered. And Mark, please don't drink anything before you go to bed. I don't want Aunt Brenda coming unglued if you have an accident. It's only for 3 days. Mom pleaded. I know. Nothing to drink after 8 p.m. Make sure to use the bathroom before going to bed. I answered sarcastically. Mom smiled and said good night. Within 15 minutes of her leaving, I began getting thirsty. I looked at the clock. It was 9:30. God, I thought. This sucks. I sat for a few minutes and began dying of thirst. One drink wouldn't hurt, I thought. I would just stay up a little later and make sure I used the bathroom. I snuck down the hallway to the kitchen. I opened the fridge. I spotted some nice bottled water. I grabbed a couple bottles and returned to my room. I settled in bed and uncapped the first bottle and tipped it back. Oh, it wasn't even cold. They must have just brought it in from the garage. I finished it off and grabbed the other one. Oh, it was warmer than the first one. Well, at least it was wet if not cold, I thought. I settled back into the bed to read and wondered how long I'd have to wait to go to the bathroom. I felt a little drowsy already. I started to get up and head to the bathroom but then lay back down. I'll just wait a little while longer to make sure, I convinced myself. My head hit the pillow and the next thing I knew Julie was standing over me at the edge of the bed. "Oh, Mark. Aren't you going to get up?" Julie asked in a sweet tone. "I made breakfast for Mom and Aunt Rose before they left. There is still some left, sleepyhead," Julie cooed. I shook the cobwebs out of my head and looked up. I started to grin when I saw her standing over me wearing a full apron over a dress holding a spatula. She looked like a housewife from one of those old TV shows. "Yes, dear, I'm coming," I said sarcastically as I pulled the covers back. Just then all hell broke loose. "What is that spot on my sheets?" Julie yelled. Startled, I fell out of the bed onto the floor and looked over in horror at the wet spot I had been sleeping in. I gulped hard, looked up at her from the floor and said, "I'll get it cleaned up right now, I promise." "Just don't tell," I said in a scared voice. "Tell? Oh, I'm gonna tell you, little baby," Julie yelled. "No, please, don't," I whimpered, looking up at her as she towered over me in her high heels. "You wet the bed like a baby and now you even sound like a baby. Maybe you should be treated like a baby. Do I need to put a diaper on you?" Julie asked scornfully. "A diaper?" I answered. "Yes, a diaper. Something you obviously need. And guess what? I happen to have some left over from my babysitting days. You're so tiny, I bet they would fit," Julie barked as she turned to go to her closet. She retrieved a large pink diaper bag. "Yes, I think this one will fit," as she pulled one of the diapers from the bag. She then took a pad from the bag and rolled it out onto the floor. "Assume the position, little baby," Julie ordered. I pleaded as I looked up at her with tearful eyes. She pointed to the mat. Too scared to resist, I crawled over to the plastic mat and then got on top of it. With a big grin she said, "Now off with your undies." She then grabbed my underwear and slid them down over my legs. Reaching into her bag, she got a wet wipe and began wiping me. Next, she had me lift up as she inserted a diaper underneath me. She doused me with baby powder and then snugly fastened the straps. "Their baby is all changed," she announced proudly. "It looks like we are just going to have to treat you like a baby from now on, since you wet the bed like one and then cry like one. I have enough diapers for the entire weekend," she added, giggling. "You just wait right there and Mommy will get your bottle ready." "Bottle?" I asked meekly. "Yes, baby needs a bottle for her breakfast," answered Julie. I lay there in shock as I watched her walking away with heels clicking as she strutted over the wooden floor toward the kitchen. I seemed frozen and helpless as I lay there looking up at the ceiling. How could I have let this happen? It was my worst nightmare. What could I do? Her mom would be even madder. I resigned myself to just cooperate, and maybe Julie would have mercy on me and not tell. Julie returned with a bottle. "Okay, little baby, crawl over her to mommy," she said after sitting down in a chair. I did as told and began crawling across the room. "Come get Baba," she cooed. She had me lay my head on her lap as she inserted the bottle into my mouth. She had actually warmed formula and was feeding me like a baby. "Good baby, drink up all of your Baba," she continued in her soft motherly voice. "Let's see, what is your feeding schedule?" "Oh yes, every 3 hours," she said, laughing. Teary-eyed, I tried pulling my head away from the bottle, but she had one hand cupped behind my head and the other was holding the bottle. "No, no, baby. Baby must drink it all up," she scolded. She held my head firm until I finished the whole bottle. "Now, baby needs a little nap," Julie announced as she stood up. "Follow mommy, crawl into the other room, baby." "Good girl," she said proudly. I crawled into the living room to find a long pillow mat. "Here's baby's nappy pillow," she said as she pointed. "Now, here is your banky to cuddle and your little binky to suck on," she said as she gave me a baby blanket and then stuck a pacifier in my mouth. "Mommy has to make an important phone call. Be a good girl for mommy and take your nap," Julie said sweetly as she put on some nursery music. Soon, I could hear her talking on the phone to someone. What was she saying? Why was it an important call? Why does she keep calling me her baby girl when I'm a boy? I lay wondering if I should bolt for the door. Where were my clothes? Should I stay and trust her? She hadn't really promised not to tell. "Laura, you'll never guess who I'm babysitting. My cousin Mark. I have him in diapers," she howled. "The little twerp peed in my bed, so I put him in diapers." "Yeah, I know, he's just kinda going along with whatever I do. He is so busted. He begged me not to tell our moms." "Hey, do you still have that Alice in Wonderland dress you wore for that Halloween party?" "Great, I have the perfect petticoat to use with it." "Why?" "It's for my baby girl, of course." "Sure, come on over. Be sure to bring those darling little socks and shoes too." "His hair?" "Well, I thought I'd put it up in pigtails." "Too boring?" "Oh, you have a home perm kit?" My God, he'd die. But he would look so cute with curls. "Well, hey, let's give it a shot. Bring the perm kit too. See ya in a few." Julie laughed and clapped her hands. I woke up and saw Julie leaning down and stroking my head. I had actually dozed off. How long was I asleep? Did baby have a nice nappy? "I think it's time for another bottle," Julie said in her sweet mommy voice. She positioned my head on her lap and again cupped the back of my head as she inserted the bottle into my mouth. More formula. The warm formula was having a strange effect on me. I could feel myself welling up inside. Suddenly, I could feel warm pee seeping all over my diaper. My eyes got wide. Julie noticed right away and giggled. Is baby going pee-pee? I guess we are just going to have to get you cleaned up. But you have to finish BABA first," she said, laughing. I continued drinking the bottle as my diaper filled up and began to sag. I felt so helpless. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. My eyes got wide and fear set in as Julie got up to answer the door. "Hey there," said an unfamiliar female voice. "You're just in time for baby's bath," Julie said as she greeting her friend. Sue, you can take everything upstairs and I'll bring baby. Julie instructed Sue. Okay, baby girl, let's go upstairs so we can change Dada and give you your bath. Sue is here to help Mommy. Mommy needs a little bit of help. It's a lot of work taking care of my little baby. Julie explained in her cooing voice. Julie then watched as I crawled over to the stairs, my diaper sagging. She giggled as she stood with her arms folded watching me ascend the stairs. Pretty soon baby will become a little girl who can walk, she said, giggling. Once I got up to the loft, I could see Sue in the bathroom sitting on the edge of the bathtub. Ah, there's baby. Oh, such a cute baby, she cooed. Julie was right behind me. She had me roll over onto a mat on the floor and removed my diaper. Julie held out her hand and Sue put a bottle of lotion in it. Julie then began applying the cream to my body. This will make baby extra smooth, she said while they both giggled. She then helped me into the bathtub, which was filled with bubbles. Julie then took a cloth and began washing my body. Meanwhile, Sue took a large cup and began wetting my hair. She then squirted some sweet-smelling shampoo into her hands and began lathering up my hair. It was very relaxing. My mind began to drift. Somewhat mesmerized by the shampooing, I happened to glance down and began to see hair floating to the top of the water as Julie wiped my legs, chest, and underarms. Julie just gave me a knowing smile as she progressed to washing my pubic hair. I closed my eyes hoping what I thought she was doing wasn't really happening. When I was all done, they both dried me off and helped me back onto the mat as they suppressed their laughter. My skin was now completely hairless as they began to apply lotion. Julie then slipped another diaper under me and pulled the tabs tight. She then slid a pair of ruffled panties over the diaper. Okay, little girl, it's time to get dressed, Julie announced as they led me to the bed. On the bed, I saw a pink little girl's dress, white pinafore, and a petticoat. I gave Julie a sorrowful look and meekly said, "Please no." Julie ignored me as she sat me on the end of the bed. Now let's dress Marcy. Raise your hands, Marcy. Mommy has a nice pretty dress for you to wear, Julie said with a devious smile. I did as instructed and Julie lowered the dress over me. It was pink crinoline decorated with bows and poofy sleeves. She then put the lace-trimmed pinafore on me. Next, she slid the petticoat up to my waist. I now sat on the edge of the bed covered in ruffles and lace. The girls both giggled. Next, Julie put anklet stockings on me trimmed in lace and then strapped black patent leather shoes onto my feet. I happened to look over at Sue. She was standing next to the computer with her hand on the mouse. Julie put her hands on my chin and turned my head toward her. Look at your mommy, Marcy. We're not quite done yet. Be a good girl and sit in this chair, Julie said as she pointed to a chair positioned in the middle of the room. I did as instructed and sat down in the chair. Before I could think what was coming, Sue began to comb through my wet hair. She then began separating portions and wrapping my hair in little rollers. I sat in complete shock as she continued putting little sheets of paper on the ends of my hair before rolling my hair onto the tiny rollers. When the final roller was secured in place, Julie placed a cotton wrap around the base of the rollers. Sue, do you have that special baby conditioner ready? Julie asked. Yes, here it is, Sue answered, but I'm afraid I got the smelly kind. Oh, Marcy won't mind, Julie responded. Julie then began squirting the lotion onto the rollers. She then placed a plastic cap over the rollers. I sat there dumbfounded as the two girls looked at me giggling and admiring their handiwork. She is getting prettier all of the time, Sue exclaimed. Julie handed me a doll to hold while they waited for the lotion to set. Sue then added a little lip gloss and some blush on my cheeks. As I sat, I tried to recap the day's events. They were such a blur. It seemed like I fell off a cliff and had fallen into some different dimension. Julie had swooped in and just taken over my life. I could see a partial reflection of myself in a mirror. What kind of conditioner were they putting into my hair? It smelled awful. The smell was vaguely familiar. I seemed to recall it from walking by beauty shops. A perm! Oh my God, they were perming my hair. Tears began to well up in my eyes. I was doomed. I should not have trusted Julie. Time to rinse, Marcy, Sue announced. The girls then rinsed my hair and added another solution. It won't be long now, Marcy, Julie announced. After letting the second solution set, I was rinsed again. Now, let's get all of those rollers out of that hair, Julie said using her mommy voice again. One by one the rollers were removed and I felt the curls fall to my shoulders. Finally, the rollers were all removed and the girls proceeded to dry and fluff out the curls in my hair. There, now all she needs is some matching bows, Julie proudly announced. Sue took out some large pink bows and attached one to each side of my head. Voila! Julie exclaimed as she swung the chair around to face the computer. I introduce Marcy, my little girl cousin, Julie proudly exclaimed. My heart sank as I looked forward and saw the little light flickering on the camera atop the computer. I could feel the pee oozing out and filling my diaper once again. I was so humiliated. Sue gave Julie a high five as they burst out laughing. The phone rang. Julie answered it. Oh, hi Mom. Oh, you won't be back until tomorrow night due to the storm. Yes, we are doing fine. Mark woke up late and has been acting like a baby all day, but I'm dealing with it. Yes, I'll make sure he gets fed. Gee, it's like I have to be his mommy or something. No, I'll do it. It's just that he is the biggest baby I've ever dealt with. But I'm sure I can find ways to keep the little baby entertained for another day. You know me, I'm full of ideas. I'll be the perfect mommy. Okay, see ya tomorrow night. Bye. Julie slowly turned to look at me as she hung up the phone. The look in her eyes sent a chill down my spine. Oh, Mommy is going to have lots of fun with her baby. Yes, she is, Julie cooed.